ජීවිතේ.
Hello there, you're watching Lunchtime News here on Newsfirst. To the Premiership. Starting off with your top story for this afternoon, as part of the ongoing protests carried out by the citizens against the rising cost of living and the shortage of essentials, a demonstration is being staged near the temple trees. People staging the demonstration near temple trees are saying that the current protest series will spread as the authorities have failed to pay attention to the voice of Sri Lankans residing in the country and abroad demanding the resignation of the government. The protesters' main demands are the resignation of the government, including the Prime Minister. The request made by the Kolpiti police to remove the protesters from opposite temple.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and the group paid homage to the sacred tooth relic.
Some are signing motions demanding the president to resign. Others are signing motions for the prime minister to resign. The people are demanding both the president and the prime minister to step down. But we won't get involved in this signature mafia. Sajith Premadasa is a man of his word. I am not ready to convert the massive people's struggle into a political auction.
The protest march began this morning from the Kandy public market. The General Secretary of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, stated the march is scheduled to reach Colombo on the 1st of May.
The Occupy Golfers People's Protest staged in front of the President's office demanding the President and the government led by the Prime Minister to resign continues today. Newsfirst's Ahmed Boozer joins us with the latest from the protest site.
Have been here since the 9th of April demanding that the president and the incumbent government resign. Their demands are loud and clear, and despite their demands we see that there's been no response from the government. And now when you talk about the township of the Gotagogama, you see a lot of campsites, and not just campsites, there are medical camps set up by the Red Cross, by the St. John's ambulances to assist these protesters in terms of any medical need. And I also observe a lot of volunteers present here today assisting these protesters in terms of food, beverages, medical and even sanitation.
For 18 days, all those who had gathered from different parts of the island rallied for the same cause. They are demanding the president to step down. Also, groups of youth, civil society representatives, religious leaders, social activists and others gathered near the president's office demanding the resignation of the government, which has plunged the economy into an abyss. People who came to the protest site last night also chanted slogans and protested in front of the president's office. Moving on, S&P Global Ratings has cut Sri Lanka's rating as an issuer of foreign currency debt to selective default after the South Asian country missed sovereign bond interest payments. The bonds, which had missed payments maturing in 2023 and 2028, were cut to default, and the overall rating could be further cut to D on confirmation of the non-payment after a 30-day grace period. S&P said it does not expect the government to make payments during that period. Sri Lanka's economic meltdown tracks its roots to 2019, when President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's government approved a large tax cut that depleted the treasury coffers even more than expected. S&P said in a statement, quote-unquote, the negative outlook on our CCC minus long-term local currency sovereign rating on Sri Lanka reflects the high risk that the government could restructure its local currency debt amid the country's economic, external and fiscal pressures. Meanwhile, a senior International Monetary Fund official said that Sri Lanka must tighten monetary policy, raise tax and adopt flexible exchange rates to address its debt crisis. According to Reuters, Sri Lanka has requested loans from the IMF as it struggles to pay for imports amid crushing debt and a sharp drop in foreign exchange reserves that has fueled soaring inflation. Anne-Marie Goldwolf, acting director of the IMF's Asia and Pacific department, said the IMF had a good, fruitful technical discussions on preparations for the negotiations with authorities over the past weekend and couple of days before. She had noted that the requirement for fund lending will be progressed towards debt sustainability and called on Sri Lanka for measures to increase tax revenues to address critical spending needs. Goldwolf did not reply to a question on the total value of any IMF package nor the estimated timing of a conclusion to the negotiations with Sri Lanka. On to another headline-making story this afternoon. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has commented on how a Prime Minister should be appointed under a unity government.
We must form a unity government with the support of all parties in parliament. The country is facing a severe crisis. All parties must unite to face this situation. We believe that a prime minister in such a government must be a parliamentarian who is accepted by all parties. Usually, the parliamentarian who commands the confidence of a majority in parliament is appointed as prime minister. We propose to choose the prime minister from parliament. Otherwise, someone else should be brought to parliament through the national list and then appointed as the prime minister.
Samagi Janabalawege parliamentarian Lakshman Kiriyala says that Sri Lanka is unable to pay the membership fees of the IMF.
When we left power, we handed over a country with $7.9 billion in foreign reserves. Ministers who claim that they have doctorates have brought this country into chaos. There is an annual membership fee that needs to be paid to the IMF. We are unable to pay that amount worth $1,000 million.
The selling price of the dollar at licensed commercial banks has risen to 348 rupees today. The buying price of the dollar was 338 rupees. The selling price of a British pound was 450 rupees and its buying price had risen to 428 rupees. Moving on to some more local news, the Ministry of Health has taken steps to implement the decision to revise the price of medicines against the dollar every 2 weeks. The Minister of Health, Professor Channa Jayasumana, stated that he does not agree with the demands of various parties to raise drug prices. Meanwhile, the Drug Regulatory Authority states that recommendations regarding a price revision for 61 types of drugs will be handed over to the Minister of Health. The chairman points out that at present, 40 to 60% prices of the drugs are controlled by the Gazette. He noted that with the appreciation of the dollar against the rupee, drug prices had risen by 29% in the past. Still in news here at home, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation says 40,000 metric tons of diesel is being unloaded to Kolonnawa. Chairman of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Attorney at Law Sumit Vijay Singh, has said another tanker carrying 90,000 litres of crude oil is to arrive in the country today. Moreover, another 2 tankers carrying petrol and diesel is due to arrive in the country. The chairman said fuel will be obtained from tankers while maintaining dollars. Moving on, the price of an imported cement bag was increased by 500 rupees with effect from midnight yesterday. Accordingly, the new price of an imported bag of cement is now set at 2,850 rupees. A decision was also reached to increase the price of a locally manufactured cement bag by 400 rupees with effect from midnight yesterday. Now, China has said it does not prefer debt restructuring but is ready to offer another loan to settle its existing loans. Now, this was elaborated at today's cabinet media briefing.
ඇමතුමා මෙරට චීන තානාධිපතිතුමා කියලා තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාව IMF සමග පැවති සාකච්ඡාව චීනයෙන් අපිට ලැබෙන උදව්වට ඒක බලපානවා කියලා. මේ ගැන රජයේ ස්ථාවරය මොකද්ද?
මේ රටේ දැනට තියෙන විදේශ සංචිත උණතාව නිසා දැනට තිබෙන
There is a need for debt restructuring in the country as there is a shortage in foreign reserves. We have already informed our debtors that we are unable to repay them. When speaking of debt restructuring, China's stance is such that they have lent money to many countries that they cannot let one country have its debt restructured as it will then affect the other countries as well. They have instead proposed to give another loan in order to repay the existing loan. The finance minister will provide more information on this to the parliament in due course.
මට්ටමේ තිබෙන්නේ මම හිතන්නේ මුදල් ඇමතිතුමා මේ පිළිබඳව සවිස්තරාත්මකව ඉදිරියේදී පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට කරුණු පැහැදිලි කිරීමට නියමිතයි.
ඊට පස්සේ ජනාධිපතිතුමායි අගමැතිතුමායි ඉල්ලා දොරෙන් ඉවත් වෙන්න ඕනි කියලා තමයි දැන් හැමෝම අහන්නේ. එතකොට එතුමාලගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් ඔබතුමාලා දැන් අලුත් කැබිනට් එකට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක ඔබතුමාලවත් ඒගොල්ලෝ පිළිගන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක ඔබතුමාලගේ වැඩ පිළිවෙල මොකද්ද කරන්න හදන්නේ?
ඒක එතනදී අවසාන තීන්දුව ගත යුත්තේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව. The
final decision should be taken by the parliament. There have been many political struggles and political crises in the country. The pressure of the people and their anti-government stance is often reflected through these struggles. As a democratic country, we should maintain the democracy in parliament and work in line with the constitution when moving forward.
අපේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අනුකූලව ඉදිරියට යන්නේ එකයි.
ඊයේ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය තුල මේ අන්තර්පණවීඩි මම සාකච්ඡා වුණා දාමත්තුමා
150 ඉක්මවා යන ඡන්ද පදනමක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තුල වර්තමාන ආණ්ඩුවට තිබුණා.
This government had the support of more than 150 MPs in parliament. Because 39 ministers crossed over and became independent, the majority of the government was lost. Therefore, he prioritized solving this political crisis. He extended an open invitation to all parties to join hands. However, at that time, there was no positive responses. Had they joined us, we could have established an all-party government. However, because no one stepped forward, the president implemented a drastic change by giving a group of young and educated ministers an opportunity. That is what the people demanded. But as the crisis is continuing and as the no-confidence motion is pressing forward, the president has taken another step. He had informed the Mahanayaka Theros through a letter that he is ready for an interim government. The president has no objection if the parliament agrees to a change in government.
The cabinet spokesperson also elaborated on Sri Lanka's future debt servicing.
Every year from this point onwards until 2026, we have to pay something like $5 billion debts every year. It is not going to come down, it's going to only increase. So if you don't increase our revenue sources, we are going to be in serious trouble in time to come. So if you look at the last two governments, both governments had increased the debt stock by about 10 billion each, roughly about 2 billion every year. And the problem is, increasing debt is not the issue, but the revenue generation to pay back the debt didn't happen at the speed that it should have happened. So when this government came, the crisis was already there. So, and on top of that, then there was a corona crisis issue. Because of the corona, our two main revenue sources, actually three, got affected. One is tourism, then foreign remittances came down, investments came down. So the inflow got badly affected for 2 years. So that issue plus several other issues, we are not scared to explain. We have nothing to hide. This country has an issue. We have a political issue as well as economic issue, but we are pretty sure that we can come out of this situation. We are confident we can do that, even with the current radical changes in the cabinet, by appointing a group of young ministers who are very capable and very determined. We are going to fight back and come out of this crisis. We are seeking the support of our local community as well as the international community to do that. So any information that you need, we are willing to provide. So we have nothing to hide. So that's the message for the international community.
In another headline-making story this afternoon, the board of Twitter has agreed to a $44 billion takeover offer from the billionaire Elon Musk. Musk, who made the shock bid less than 2 weeks ago, said Twitter had tremendous potential that he would unlock. He also called for a series of changes, from relaxing its content restrictions to eradicating fake accounts. The firm initially rebuffed Musk's bid, but it will now ask shareholders to vote to approve the deal. Musk is the world's richest person, according to Forbes magazine, with an estimated net worth of $273.6 billion, mostly due to his shareholding in electric vehicle maker Tesla, which he runs. He also leads the aerospace firm SpaceX. Musk said in a statement announcing the deal, quote-unquote, "Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated." And with that, it's a wrap of lunchtime news here on TV1. For the News First team, I've been Yuki Pasha. Take care and good day.